Yo, what's going on guys? EN77 here. In today's video we're going to be using this Hog EQ Giant Skeleton deck. Alright. So I actually just created this deck pretty recently, just a few days ago, because I remember there used to be a similar deck a long time ago, except it had like Magic Archer for Archer Queen and a few other changes, but I've been playing this deck recently and I found that it's actually really strong, it feels like, in this meta. I'm not sure if I'll use it over my normal Hog EQ deck at the end of the season, but I feel like if my other Hog deck ever feels weak, I could definitely try this one out for the end of the latter season, because it actually feels really good, surprisingly. I feel like the Giant Skeleton is actually a pretty underrated card, because everybody always ranks it in like the B or F tier in those tier lists, but I feel like it can actually do really well. Like, I noticed a lot of the Giant Skeleton one-tricks on ladder have been doing better than they ever have in the past, even after that kind of rework, but which was more of a nerf, but yeah. Alright, so hopping in the first game, we're up against this guy. He's probably playing Mega Knight here, so gonna be interesting to see how this matchup goes. This is one of the most popular decks, so if we can beat this matchup pretty consistently, then our deck would automatically be a pretty strong deck. And it's really nice to have the big tank in the Giant Skeleton just to stop these Mega Knights and always have good defenses against the Archer Queens. And I feel like the guards are also pretty important in this deck. They're really good for countering other Archer Queens when they try to pressure you if you wasted your Giant Skeleton already, and they're really good against like Graveyard and that type of stuff. Also pretty good against control decks, kind of like what this guy is running here. Or I mean, kind of good control to bridge spam decks is what I meant to say. Alright, so we're just gonna hog here. He's gonna go with the Ramrider, but our guards are distracting a bit, so we did have to go with the Snowball. We're just gonna Archer Queen high here, finish off the Ghost. Alright, so we did waste the Archer Queen of his own, but we're gonna force him to use his ability, so pretty good start here for us. And I'm actually just gonna Earthquake on defense, because I want to save my guards for like his bandits and ghosts, so that's another one of the scenarios where you can just Earthquake on defense if you don't want to spend something like one of your important defensive cards. So he's gonna Mega Knight in the back here, but it's gonna be hard for him to build up really good pushes now that we have Giant Skeleton in the deck. And we're just gonna activate King Tower here against the Ghost. It is gonna pull the Giant Skeleton back though. And we're gonna Queen here off to the side in case he goes with a Lightning. And he actually does end up using a Lightning, but our Queen's just getting so much value here. The thing is, he can't really break through our like Giant Skeleton plus Tombstone and guards unless he goes with like a Lightning on offense, but then if he does that, then our Queen will just also kind of shred him. And he's probably gonna have to Mega Knight this. Yeah, Ghost's gonna go invisible here. Yeah, but not really too worried about this because our Giant Skeletons will always defend his Mega Knights pretty well, and even if he goes with like a Queen in the other lane, we always have like other counters to it, like guards and all that stuff. And yeah, honestly, the normal Hog deck I use like recently with Archer Queen and Bomb Tower, it's actually not too good against MK Ram, so if any of you guys are struggling against this matchup, this could be the Hog deck for you. And we're just gonna Tombstone high here in case we went with like a Prediction Lightning, just want to be extra safe here. We're just gonna EQ cycle his tower at this point, but we don't need to be too aggressive though, because we're in a pretty good spot here. Got activated King Tower, which really just helps out so much. And even though he has Lightning, I'm just gonna go with a Queen in the back, because if I went with like a higher Queen, then he would just go in with like a MK in front and kind of destroy me. So yeah, but we are gonna both waste our Queen abilities here, so pretty fine with me. And we're gonna protect our Queen with some guards here, just to finish off the Ramrider, hopefully. We're just gonna get another Giant Skeleton down. The really nice thing about the Giant Skeleton is that it just completely blocks up the lane whenever someone's trying to push into the certain lane. And we're just gonna go with Hog guards here, so if you went with like a Ramrider on it, they would just get distracted by the guards. And our Giant Skeleton Bomb is actually gonna damage down that Queen quite well. The Death Bomb of the Giant Skeleton isn't that strong anymore, but it still is a decent little thing to have. It can usually kill a good amount of units, like with the Giant Skeleton Bomb plus Log. And yeah, pretty easy win here, actually. That's actually really really good to see that this deck can do really well against these meta decks here. Alright, GG. Alright, hopping in the next matchup, we're gonna be up against this guy. He almost always runs Giant Graveyard, so I'm assuming he's probably gonna be running that here too. This is also normally a pretty difficult matchup for Hog EQ, but I feel like having guards in here over like skeletons or whatever else we normally have will definitely help us a lot. He does have arrows in his deck, I'm pretty sure, so he can definitely deal with the guards quite well, but that's gonna still make him spend quite a lot of elixir before he can really get a good push off on us. And Giant Skeleton gonna block up the lane pretty nicely. The Witch is a bit annoying here, but the Giant Skeleton Bomb should finish most of it off. And yeah, we're just gonna EQ on defense. Probably could have logged a little bit earlier on the Witch there, but we did take quite a bit of damage, but I'm not like too worried here. He did have to spend a good amount on that, so we're not looking too bad here, although definitely not the best. So we're just gonna Giant Skeleton in the back here. Unlike the normal Hog cycle decks, we can actually like build up big pushes here with like Giant Skeletons, Queens, and Hogs, which could be pretty hard for him to defend, so yeah. We're just gonna Hog other lane here. He might like... Okay, I was gonna say, he probably could have Skarmied there if he realized that I didn't have Log or EQ in cycle, but looks like he didn't. We're just gonna Tornado this Skarmy, don't really want to deal with it. And the Tombstone Skeleton pile-up is actually super good right now, like, they just spawn so quick. And I feel like he went with a bit of an over-aggressive Graveyard there. He didn't have enough elixir for arrows, so just gave us a free positive elixir trade. And we're gonna Queen at the bridge here, because I know he wasted Snowball and he wasted Skarmy, so he shouldn't have the best responses to it. And yeah, it looks like we're gonna get quite a bit of chip damage. We don't really have a great response to the Dark Prince right now. We could Giant Skeleton, but I'm just gonna kite it with a Hog a bit. We're also gonna get a Log off. Could have went with it a second earlier, but I was kind of expecting that he might like stagger, or like stutter on the Skarmy a bit just so he's less predictable. And we're gonna go with a Giant Skeleton at the bridge here. He might kite it with a Giant. I was kind of hoping that one skeleton on the right side would have lured the Giant Skeleton, but unfortunately it wasn't able to, so our Giant Skeleton not gonna get too much value here. And our guards are actually still getting really nice value here. Even though he has arrows for our guards, they always get good value against his graveyard, because he never has enough to spend the arrows right away. Alright, and we're gonna build up a bit of a push here in the left lane. It might just get wrecked by that Witch, but at least it's gonna kind of block up the lane, force him to not really make too much of a push here. Our Hog is only gonna get one hit, unfortunately, but Giant Skeleton Bomb should finish off most of his push. And he does go with a Graveyard here, but I feel like that was a little bit aggressive of a Graveyard, didn't do too much for him here. And we're just gonna Hog here. We're gonna also hover our Tornado for his bats. I'm gonna Prediction EQ on his Skeleton army. And wow, we actually hit 2 predictions in a row. That looks like it's gonna be GG. Really nice comeback there at the end. Alright, hopping in the next match, we're gonna be up against Paige. I'm pretty sure this guy just means EGolem, so gonna be interesting to see how Giant Skeleton does against EGolem. I feel like it's pretty good at blocking up the lane, but at the same time it does kind of feed the battle healer, so it might just help him heal up his whole push, but it could like kind of stagger his push a bit, so probably should be pretty decent here. Alright, so he's gonna use a Barb Hut there pretty early, so we're just gonna go with a Hog here to kite back the Barbarian so our tower can fully counter it. Always good to use your Hogs like in that position where they kind of like kite troops back if you're ever in a bit of a pinch and don't want to waste your other cards. And we're just gonna Tombstone here. We don't really need it too much for the EGolem because we can defend it in a few different ways, so not really too worried about saving that for anything in specific. Just kind of want to use it to cycle to get to better cards that we need. We're just gonna Queen here because he used a Baby Dragon, so pretty good value here, and it's also gonna survive to hopefully kill his Battle Healer here once we pop the ability. I feel like Healer doesn't really have that much HP anymore ever since that 10% health nerf. It was pretty squishy actually. It gets kind of wrecked by the Queen. We're just gonna Earthquake here, because don't really want to hog right into the E-Drag, otherwise he might just build like a huge push or something, so... Yeah, and he might Barb Hut it here in a bit, but not really too worried about it either. Okay, he's actually gonna E-Golem at the bridge, kind of interestingly. I feel like that may have been a bit over-aggressive by him. And we're just gonna see how the Giant Skeleton does here. It seems like it's doing a really good job of just tanking everything. And we're just gonna focus on killing the Elixir Golem first, that way we can get the Elixir back from the blobs, and... Not the best Tornado by him, and... and the Giant Skeleton Bomb gonna clean up really nicely, actually. Allows our queen to just snipe the Electro Dragon and stuff, and all that stuff pretty easily here. And we didn't even have to use the queen ability here, so gonna cause him a bit of trouble on offense, I feel like. And Earthquake honestly just takes off like most of the Barb Hut's health, so he's probably still gonna have to use something. He does decide to go in with the Baby Dragon, so just gonna Giant Skeleton here. Gonna be a bit annoying to kill his E-Drag here, but with the Giant Skeleton Bomb, it should kill like half of the E-Drag, so I'm not too worried about that either. Giant Skeleton just gonna block up the lane really nicely here. I'm not sure if it would even be worth it for him to go with the EGolem. I'm just gonna kind of get wrecked by everything that I'm playing, yeah. And the bomb just kills like nearly everything. I do gotta watch out here though, but... So I'm just gonna go a bit aggressive here, because I know the Giant Skeleton Bomb will get value either way, even if I play it at the river. And I just want to formulate a bit of an attack here, hoping that he can't build up like one of those massive pushes, because it would be pretty hard to defend. And unfortunately we couldn't use our queen ability because the E-Drag was resetting it. But yeah, I think we just need like one more EQ and one log here. Actually a really easy game so far. Yeah, I'm really liking this deck. I think you guys should give it a try. It's really fun and actually pretty strong here as well. Alright, hopping in the next match, we're going to be up against this guy. Pretty sure he mains Splashyard, so might be a pretty difficult matchup here. Hopefully the guards do help us a bit, though, against his graveyard, and maybe we can pull something off with the Giant Skeleton as well. So we are going to waste an EQ there, and he does have Tombstone, so a bit unfortunate, but looks like he didn't have NATO in hand for our hog, so we will get a hit there. And we're just going to Giant Skeleton here, because he wasted Knight, Bar Barrel, Tombstone. He shouldn't have too much for the Giant Skelly. And also another nice thing about this deck is that it's really good at surprising your opponents, because nobody really expects it. So he went in with a bit of a over-aggressive graveyard. They're not expecting us to have guards in our deck. I'm just gonna NATO this Ice Wiz. Honestly, it's gonna be pretty annoying to kill his Ice Wiz because we don't really have like a Fireball or something to finish it off. And unfortunately, he did get down the Tornado in time, so we weren't able to get any damage here. Just gonna Tombstone on his Knight. Could be pretty difficult here. We kind of have to just... I feel like once we get his Ice Wizard off the field, then our pushes can be pretty deadly for him, so we're gonna have to try to see what we can do here. Maybe get a bit of Queen Cheese on him by I don't know, pressuring at the perfect times when he wastes like a Knight on the Giant Skeleton or something. So we are gonna force him to use a high poison, which is pretty good for us. And we're still gonna ability here because it's gonna finish off his Tombstone and get pretty decent value as well. And we're just going to set up with a Giant Skeleton in the back. Honestly, not really too much of a risky play, because we can defend pretty easy with guards, so... More worried about offense here than defense, because we have good enough defense. Although not perfect, but... Yeah. It might be a little bit annoying to kill his baby dragons as well. We do have Queen, but he's probably just going to get a really good poison off on everything. He will still have to respond to the Giant Skeleton as well, so... Not too bad. Unfortunately, we did have to waste our Queen ability, though, because it was getting pretty low HP there. And we're just going to bridge block with our Giant Skeleton. I was kind of expecting him to go in with a graveyard there, so pretty good play by us here. We're going to log as well. We might try to activate King Tower here in a second against that baby dragon. If you use Tornado plus, like, Archer Queen, you can actually get it. And yeah, looks like we're actually gonna get it here. He did actually mess up the Tornado. I think he used it like a second late or something, so this is actually pretty good for us here. Definitely not gonna be easy though, because even though we will have better defense, the offensive end is still just going to be so tough for us. And at least his King Tower is getting a bit lower in HP though, so if he keeps tornadoing to the King Tower, he's eventually going to have to worry about getting 3 crown. And we did force him to waste the Ice Wizard as well. So we might go with an aggressive Giant Skeleton here, because he wasted Ice Wizard, so it could be a bit difficult for him to defend. Unfortunately, we didn't have EQ in cycle though for his Tombstone. We're just going to get a Tornado off here, finish off the Skeletons, pull the Knight away. And we're just going to Guards here just to be safe against his Graveyard. He will get a Poison, but yeah, it is still not easy though, because he can just like be really aggressive with all his cards and still get away with it, even though we do have an active King Tower. But one trick that can really help you guys win like matchups similar to this is to use that. There's like this trick where if you have a giant skeleton down and use like a Hog Rider to the side of it, sometimes it'll like allow the Hog Rider to bypass buildings, which can be pretty useful for you. And we're gonna EQ his Tombstone here. He will have to NATO it still, so not looking the best for him, but he's still gonna have pretty nice defense, so yeah, and our Queen is gonna die a bit earlier than I was hoping for. So we're just gonna go with a Giant Skeleton Hog here. He is blocking the bridge pretty well though, and we do EQ his Tombstone once again. I feel like he should be placing it a bit higher so we can't EQ it and the tower, but yeah, he's just gonna poison our tower as well, so hopefully we can get like a good final push off, see what happens. You're gonna get a Queen ability off as well. But honestly, the Queen ability is so much worse when you don't when it gets slowed by the Ice Wizard, because then it doesn't really do much more damage than normal. And yeah, looks like we actually lost here. I'm probably just gonna leave this in the video though, because some of you guys did want to see some losses here and there. I feel like we played pretty decently for what the matchup was. We had a nice King activation and did all we could, but yeah, that's gonna be GG's here. Alright, hopping in the next game, we're actually going to be against someone way lower trophies than us. When you play at top ladder, sometimes you get like opponents like 200 plus trophies below you, and you actually get like minus 45 if you lose, so hopefully we beat this guy so we don't like lose all our trophies that we gained for like the last 30 minutes. Matchmaking is actually taking really long right now because it's not very late in the season. Okay, so this guy has Tombstone plus Barb is probably going to be Lava here. I feel like him having Barbs is pretty fine for me over him having Guards, because that way he doesn't really have like a cheap response to our Giant Skeleton, and I don't think he can actually deal with that. It's probably going to take like the majority of his tower. Yeah, because the Death Bomb actually does do double damage to towers after a buff like a few months ago, I think. We're just going to wait on our Queen a bit here. Want to see if he goes with like a balloon right away. It looks like he's not going to, so we're just gonna wait here. So, and yeah, like once again, this guy just has no idea what we're playing, so he's not really making the correct plays here, because he just doesn't really know what to expect from us, so he's actually just gonna end up giving us a free King activation here, which is gonna be really helpful. This deck is really good against Balloon, but it's not quite as good against Lava Loon, because we only really have Queen for air defense, but we do have pretty solid Loon counters. I'm just gonna go with a Hog here because I don't think he has enough elixir for Barbs. So we probably will score 2 shots there and put the tower in EQ log range. So we're just gonna chill out here, focus on defense at this point. Now we're gonna make sure to pressure him with the Giant Skeleton, and he also will always have to respond to those guards if he doesn't want to lose like half of his tower, because they actually do so much damage when left ignored. Now we're just going to Giant Skeleton in the back, because even though he's going to Lava in the back same lane, it's going to do a really good job of like blocking up the whole lane from like any air units he uses, and it probably will force out like Tombstone or Barbs. And we're just going to EQ the Tombstone. EQ is one of the best counters to Tombstone in the game. It defends it really nicely. And we should be able to get a log off to finish off the Barbarians with the Death Bomb as well of the Giant Skeleton. And yeah, not too worried about the balloon. Gotta be a bit careful with our King Tower though, because if we pull balloons too much towards our King Tower, it could get a bit risky. Alright. So pretty clean defense here, just gonna hog. Yeah, and he's probably just gonna let it go and try to make his final push, but I don't think he has enough time. You can just probably like tornado this back and maybe get like a tombstone down. Now, like, I don't think this is like the easiest matchup, but just because of the surprise factor, we were able to get in pretty good early on at the start of the game and secure our win. Alright, GG's, guys. Alright, and we're actually #1 in the world right now, so thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!